I live on the fourth floor of a building that sits at no more than 200 meters from the Cluta Vaults pub. My living room has a L-shaped balcony with floor-to-ceiling glass doors facing south of the River Clyde and the surrounding area. The view is incredible and was probably one of the main reasons why we decided to move into this flat. In order to enjoy the view, the living room furniture, sofas and dinner table are displayed facing to the glass door. No matter where you are in the room, you can see the Cluta and the river. I'm new to Glasgow, and I've learned with some exploring that the area where I live, regardless its great central location, is a little rundown. But in my opinion, I find the neighborhood charming. Irrespective of the proximity, I've never been inside the Cluta. But to be honest, I feel like I did. Because especially during the summer months, when I could see people sitting on the outside tables, drinking and chatting after a long day at work, or when the music playing there could be heard from my living room, it was like I was there. On the night of the crash, I was at home waiting for friends to arrive from London. My partner, who lives with me, left at around 10 p.m. to pick them up at the bus station. It was a cold night and I was excited to see my friends. I'm not sure exactly what I was doing when I started to hear sirens outside. The TV was on, but I wasn't paying attention to it. I was probably surfing the internet on my laptop. At first, I didn't give much attention to the sound of the sirens outside as the road in front of my building is quite noisy. But the noise wouldn't stop, and the red and blue lights wouldn't stop flashing either. I didn't hear any explosion, any louder noise prior to that, nothing at all. I came out of the balcony and saw the commotion outside the Cluta, but I couldn't quite understand what was going on. Without thinking twice, I took a video camera and started to shoot from the balcony. When I zoomed in the image, I could see that the ceiling of the pub had collapsed. And that was what I thought, that the roof collapsed. Even though now, looking at the footage, you can see the rear of the helicopter is sticking out of the roof. But the idea never crossed my mind. As the minutes went on, more and more ambulances were arriving at the scene. I knew something bad was happening. My first reaction was to go downstairs with the camera on and try to find out what was happening. On the short walk from my building to the scene, I found out through other people that a police helicopter had fallen to the roof of the Cluta. I must confess that at that point I couldn't really believe what I was hearing. My adrenaline was pumping, and on my head I was thinking how on earth that happened.
A police helicopter going through the roof. Oh, no way.
But I kept shooting the video and got as close to the pub as I could. At a point, between 15 to 20 minutes after the crash, police and rescue teams were at the scene, but the area wasn't cordoned out yet. I could see people as shocked as myself still trying to digest the information that a helicopter crashed at the pub. Weird enough, and as the images can show, there were no signs of panic or anything like that. And after the sirens stopped to ring, it was actually quiet and calm. Not at all what you would expect from an accident of that gravity and dimension. In the following moments, the police started to cordon out the area and I had to leave the scene. There were a lot of people in the surrounding areas looking very distressed and in awe. But no screams or panic, just whisperings. The weird silence it seemed to have taken over the whole city. I decided to go back home and kept shooting videos from my balcony. By this time, the world was aware of the accident, and every TV channel was covering the breaking news. Some were already reporting from the scene, and more information were coming through, and more injured people being rescued from inside the building. Over the next couple of hours, I didn't turn the video camera off and kept following the work of the rescue teams and the TV coverage, in total disbelief. I went on Facebook and Twitter and shared some updates and pictures of my experience. It was past 2 a.m. when I went to bed, but I couldn't sleep. It was at this point, and with the realization that I was sitting on my sofa at just 200 meters from the pub, and then an helicopter could have hit my flat, that I switched from journalist to a citizen, and reality hit hard on my partner, my guests, and myself. The morning after, when the sunlight could show another perspective of the scene, it was easier to understand the damage and gravity of the situation, and the city woke up to a black day. The unstoppable work of the rescue teams could be seen straight away. On TV, the fatalities started to come up. Investigations, theories, and speculations trying to figure out what had happened were formed. Stories of the survivors and the families of the affected were highly explored, and that weird silence could still be heard everywhere. The following couple of days and nights, it was impossible to try and remove myself from what was happening just outside my window. The sensation I had was that I was watching a 24-hour reality show, broadcasting the rescue team's efforts to minimize the number of deaths that were growing by the hour. So I kept recording from my balcony in a gloom, heavy and sad atmosphere. 3 days after the crash, an operation to remove the helicopter took place. It was a mixed emotions moment. On one hand, it was emotionally difficult to see the helicopter being lifted from inside the bar. Its size, weight, and overall look gave me the chills. And the way of which all the rescue team's members involved in the operation stood in line looking at the machine being removed on the back of a truck showed how intense those days were from them as well. On the other hand, I think I could breathe a little lighter knowing that the helicopter wasn't so close anymore. 10 months later, I'm still contemplating the beautiful view from my balcony. The River Clyde and what was left from the Clute is still there, perhaps a little more colorful than it was on that Friday night.